What I'm going to show you is a proven path to basically getting unlimited customers. The reason why I have confidence, the reason why I can make money, whether it's £1 million a month, £1 million in a day, is very simple. I have created the ability to get customers on demand. And so you have to identify as an entrepreneur what is the highest value skill that you can develop. And you have to commit to it. This is why most people fail with their funnels, with their businesses, with their offers. So how do you make your offer sexy, much more attractive? You do it by what I call the funnels methodology. Gee, thanks. Okay, next slide. All right, so if this is the first time we're meeting, I'm just gonna go through a 1 minute quick backstory. I essentially started from a place called East London. Do we have any East Londoners in the house? Oh my gosh, only one person from London. There you go, guy. All right, so I grew up in East London, really didn't have much money. And I said to myself, hey, I was 21 years old. I wanted to start a business. By the time I was 23, I made my first $1 million. By the time I was like 26, I made my first 10 million. Before I turned 30 years old, I made over $30 million. It's about 25 million pounds. And anyway, I won all these awards. I was speaking at Cambridge University thing. Let's go to the next slide. And one of the biggest hacks is I've just always found if I can just buy my way into things, meaning if I can find someone who has the results, then I can shortcut my success. Does that make sense? That's why you guys are here right now. Just think about it. Most people, I was going to say it's a weekend today. Is it weekend? It's Friday today. Okay, sometimes I get confused. But most people won't spend, their daytime coming to an event like this. But you guys have. That already puts you in a very different position than most people. Do you guys understand what I'm saying? And so I basically first realized, hey, if I just buy someone's time, I can easily fast track my journey. So this was me and Ty back in the day. Next slide. And then I got to know Ty. One of the things he talked about was this concept of a funnels agency. How many of you recognize people from this page? Yeah. Okay, so whether it's Tony Robbins, Richard Branson, whoever, some of these people, Grant Cardone, Kevin Harrington, I just find that if I pay someone for their information, I can get there way faster. So, and sometimes I just pay someone just to build a relationship with them. Does that make sense? Okay, so the guy on the corner, how many of you know the guy on the corner? Russell Brunson? Yeah. Raise your hand if you know Russell Brunson. Okay, cool. So with Russell Brunson, I'd paid him 25 grand to join one of his masterminds. And as soon as I paid him, I realized at that time I couldn't go into America. Okay, for whatever reasons, I couldn't go in. So I'm like, I can't ask him for a refund because that's not cool, right? So I'm like, Russell, what can you do for me? And he goes, okay, jump on a phone call with me. And the call was basically 1 hour. So I'm thinking, okay, this is just me and Russell, 1 hour phone call. I get on, and there's 10 people on the call. And I'm like, I thought this was supposed to be a one-on-one consultation, right? Anyway, he goes to me, what's your plans? I said, hey, I heard of this hack. To get on New York Times bestseller, I just have to spend 400 grand buying this marketing package and I'll get New York Times bestseller. Okay? He said, why do you want to do that? I said, because I want to help people. Remember, I'm like 24, 25 years old, right? He's like, no, you just want to impress your friends and family. I was like, shit, how do you know? And he goes, don't do it because I've already done it. And he goes, I spent $380,000 and it doesn't work. So don't do it. And I remember putting the phone down and thought, wow, that was the best 25 grand I spent. Okay, and so for me, I've always had this habit of if someone knows one or two things more than me, this gentleman here, how many of you know Dan Pena from the, right? So I must have spent like £20,000 with him, went to his castle, like complete freak of nature. Anyway, we won't talk about freaks. Let's go, please. Next slide. So the reason why I'm saying this is because I hope you just take one. How many? Just one actionable item from this presentation. I have about 30, 40 minutes. And the reason why I'm saying this is because sometimes someone needs to seed it in, and then in your mind, you can be like, okay, that's possible. How many of you have heard of this guy called Roger Bannister? Yeah. Right? So he's the guy that's known to basically run a mile in 4 minutes. Now, I'm not there yet. But I saw this when I was starting in internet marketing. I saw this gentleman, John Reese. Anyone know John Reese? Okay, so in internet marketing, he was the first guy ever to make $1 million in a day. And I remember thinking to myself, man, how is that even possible, right? Like if I made $1 million in a year, I'd make more money than everyone in my entire family. And so I see this, and I'm like, okay, next slide. I see this dude, Russell Brunson, he talks about how he made $1 million. And then I think it was last year, I forget. Last year or the year before, I had my first $1 million day. And it's actually Russell Brunson that paid me. Okay, I bought a domain name for $5,000, and I flipped it to him for $1.3 million cash. Yeah, I would say mashallah. Some people will say effing hell, right? But imagine being able to buy something for like £5,000, £4,000, and then making £1.2 million profit in a day, right? So for me, like the money is just a game now. Once you get to a stage, it just becomes a big game, right? When you're starting off, it's like, man, I need to pay my bills. Then it's like, then you start building a team. And let's go, next slide. And then, so the reason why I say this is because what I'm going to show you is a proven path to basically getting unlimited customers. The reason why I have confidence, the reason why I can make money, whether it's £1 million a month, £1 million in a day, is very simple. I have created the ability to get customers on demand. Does that make sense? Okay. Imagine if you can go to a business owner and say, hey, how many of you have a business here right now? Okay, what's the most valuable thing to you? Cash. How do you get cash? Customers. Yeah. So if I have a magic wand and I can bring you customers, does that make me valuable?
Yes. Yeah, very.
Yes or no?
Yes.
You might pay me $2,000 a month. I have another client that's paying me $25,000 a month. And all I was doing was sending him customers. Does that make sense? And so you have to identify as an entrepreneur what is the highest value skill that you can develop. And you have to commit to it. These are some of my students. I don't know if you know them. I have like 80% of my customers from America. And then I have a bunch in the UK. But how many of you know what these awards are? Yeah, 2 Comma Club awards. So I've got like well over 50 millionaire students. I was doing an event last weekend at a hotel in Corinthia. How many of you know this hotel called Corinthia Hotel? Okay, it's in central London. It's where Tom Cruise comes to stay. Anyway, I'm speaking there. 2 people, millionaires, multimillionaires, they were my students. And I'm like, wow, just like to seeing someone else, because sometimes you do something and then you just get so numb to it. I sound very ungrateful when I talk like that, I'm sorry. But how many of you know you're good at a skill or something that you do, right? And it comes naturally to you, but it's hard for someone else, right? That's where your genius zone lies. That's what you want to really focus on, okay? And then you want to delegate all of your weaknesses. Let's go through. All right, so let's get straight into it. Old versus new. This is the old way of doing business, traditional website. The new way, that should say funnels. Let's go to the next slide, and you'll see this is why most people fail with their funnels, with their businesses, with their offers. The reason why I know this is because I created 50 plus offers. How many of you know what an offer is? Like a high ticket offer. So anytime you want to make money, remember, it's an exchange of value. You guys with me so far? It's an exchange of value. If you can exchange your value with someone else and someone values you, they will pay you. How do you increase the value that you share with others? You have to have what's called an offer, a service, right? And so offer packaging and positioning and creative, this is like 80-20. If you can get this right, everything else just flows. So how do you make your offer much more sexy, much more attractive? You do it by what I call the funnels methodology. Is this all making sense? Yeah? So the funnels methodology is something that I developed after working with 1,000 clients. The 1,000 clients had to pay me anywhere from 10K to about 50 Gs each. So it's a lot of money people have paid. What I'm going to share with you, as I was coming here, I was thinking to myself, what's the 80-20 that I can just give you guys the most valuable things in this short period of time? Do you guys understand that? Do you understand that thinking as well? Okay, like I'm thinking, how can I come in and just share the most valuable stuff and hold nothing back? If you develop this mentality, it's very hard for you not to get rich, not to get wealthy. Does that make sense? Because I'm giving purely without any expectation. Okay, this is why it's funny because when I was speaking to Ty Lopez's team, Itzel, the lady, she goes to me, oh, we didn't invite you here, just so you know. I was like, what? She's like, Ty personally invited you. He wanted you to come here. Now that's because in our last conversation, I had some sort of value that he saw. Does that make sense? Otherwise, he would not just get a random person to come up and teach you guys. So ask yourself this question: how do you become more valuable to all the people around you? This is the 7-step process that I use when I want to refine an offer. So it doesn't matter what I'm selling, who I'm selling it to, I am always focusing on who's the niche, what's the pain points, what's the messaging, what's the customer avatar, niching down on just one person. So I'll give you an example. This is the difference. When I first started making money, I was around 23, 24 years old. How many of you have made your first $1 million? Okay, all right, a handful of you. All right, after you make £1 million or $1 million, you realize very quickly it's not a lot of money. Would you guys agree? You're like, I thought I was gonna feel something. You don't feel anything. So I thought life was gonna be perfect. Yeah, you feel worse because now you're like,
you got more problems.
yeah, it's just a different mentality. If you haven't made your first £1 million, $1 million, then just work towards that. But go back to the slide, please. So every time I want to build a business for someone else, okay, we incorporate this methodology. And this is the difference, right? So when I first started making money, I would go and splash so much money on stupid stuff. And I was in Malaysia one day, and this lady in the lobby, she basically tells me, she sells me this dream of I can get myself featured on the newspaper. It's called the Daily Star. And I was like, yeah, absolutely. And she's like, we'll plaster your face. And I was like, okay, put this headline. You know, I had like this long hair, it's crazy. But she had this headline that said, ex-Bangladeshi construction worker becomes a millionaire. Okay? And I'm thinking to myself, man, everyone in Malaysia is going to come and watch me. So I remember I was staying in this hotel called G Tower Hotel, right in the center of Kuala Lumpur. And I go into this room, and I'm looking around, and all of the event rooms like this is empty, except for one room. And it's got my company name, and I'm thinking, must be like at least 100, 200 people waiting to see me. I go in, and there's like 7 people. And I'm looking around, and I start asking them, what do you do? What do you do? What do you do? And what do you think they did? Well, Bangladeshi construction man on their break time. And I thought, okay, I need to get back. So when I came back to London, I was like, okay, let me change the headline. And the headline was, create a CEO level income working from home. You see the difference? And suddenly now I start attracting people that are in the 40s, 50s, 60s. And these people have money because they come from usually corporate or they're trying to start a business. Versus the people that I had the wrong messaging. Does that make sense? So ask yourself, what's the messaging that you have right now? And who are you attracting? So for example, in one of my brands, funnels.com, I'll talk about it. We work with coaches, consultants. How many coaches and consultants in the room? Agency owners? Yeah, so that brand is specifically designed for basically people like you guys, right? Then I have a spin-off brand, which I'm going to show you. So by the way, go back, sorry. Does this all make sense to you? Question, Daniel?
Is it a place, or is it, can we get this slide?
Yeah, if you say please. Yeah, I'll hook it up, man. I'll get one of the team. You guys want the slides? Yeah, I'll hook it up so you guys can go through this in your own time as well. This is what I found. If you tweak any of these, what I call profit activators, the business grows. And then what I'd say as well is if clients are sticking with you for years, you can increase the pricing. Does that make sense? And that's where this part comes in, structuring your offers. So what we have is something called, Adam, is basically the value ladder. How many of you have heard of this thing called a value ladder? So essentially, when someone comes in, you don't want to just have one thing. It's like with every single place that you go to. So if you go to for example, a McDonald's, they'll offer you multiple products when you go and buy something. Not that I'm endorsing McDonald's, okay? So last week at the Corinthia Hotel, you go and stay at the hotel, it's £1,000 a night. As soon as you walk into the room minibar, everything is just jacked up. Like the water bottle was like £10. I'm like, what the heck is going on here anyway? So, and then you can buy food. Let's just say the food is like £50, £100 a meal. Then they had caviar, which was like £300-400, right? And so, can you see, everything that you go through is a funnel to upsell you into different things. Are you guys with me so far? Yeah. Is this making sense to you? Yeah. You see all over the world, you see in every place that you go, this is the question that you have to ask yourself. Where is your funnel? When someone comes to meet you, what's the funnel? Meaning, what's the process? Someone can get to know you, they can get to like you, trust you, and then buy from you. Does that make sense? I was in Singapore the other day. I travel a lot to Singapore. I've been there like 50 times, so it's quite a lot. So anyway, I'm in Singapore the other day, and I'm walking through the mall, and one of the guys comes up to me. He couldn't even speak like strong English. He comes up and he grabs my hand and he goes, "Give me your hand. Watch this. Watch this." And there was a lady next to me. She was with me. Anyway, so this is what happens. The lady looks at me. She's like, "Don't be rude." Just so I'm giving my hand. The guy slabs some cream on this hand and he starts rubbing it. You've seen it? You've seen it, right?
Yeah, it's good.
He starts, yeah, he starts rubbing my hand, and then he pulls my other hand and he goes, "Look, one hand is dirty, one hand is clean." And I'm thinking, I'm sure I washed my hands anyway. He goes, "Come inside to the store. Let's go, let's go, let's go." As I go in, he starts talking to me about basically this cleanser for your face. Okay, it was like 200 or 300 pounds. So he's like, "This is the cleanser, just like your hands, you need to use it on your face." And then as I'm like listening to him, I see the girl sitting down and she's got like a patch on her eye, like a gold patch. And I'm thinking, man, I'm about to be upsold here, like crazy. Okay, before I know it, he's pitching me for 200-300 pounds. And now, how can I be a gentleman and buy it for myself? I'm gonna have to buy something for her as well. And then she puts this gold thing on her eye, and the guy's like, "No, no, no, it's one limited to one person." Do you get it? So now one of her eyes looks like she's used the product, and the other, and I'm looking at this. Anyway, I buy a bunch of stuff. As I'm walking out, there's this massive picture on the wall of this lady, Egyptian lady, whatever, right? And there's this one cream that's just there. And it's called basically Cleopatra 24K gold. Okay? So before I go, I ask her, "Hey, how much is this cream?" And I think she quoted me something like 8 or 10 grand. And then immediately I went, "Do people buy that?" And she goes, "There was a couple, the lady just walked in, she bought it, and she just walked out." And I was like, that's the business I want to be in. Okay?
Were they from Israel by chance?
No, they were Chinese, so
Okay.
yeah, Asians.
I lived in Vegas, so this is very common.
Yeah?
Yeah.
Yeah, 100%. So do you guys understand what I'm saying here? This is what you want to do. Focus on solving rich people's problems. Okay, especially if you're running an agency. If you have a client that's paying you 6 grand a month, if you have 100 clients, now you're making 600 grand a month, right? That's a good starting point. So this is one of my profit maximizers. I recommend all of you have this, and it's a very simple framework to have this, okay? What problem am I solving on each level? If you want to make more money, you have to solve people's problems. Does that make sense? If you look at your bank account right now and you're not happy with it, it's very simple. You're not solving enough people's problems. If you're like, "But I'm so smart, I'm this and that," it's mainly because you're not solving the right people's problems. Does that make sense? I have clients that would pay me 25 grand a month. Once upon a time when I started my agency, I would struggle to get a 2 grand a month client. I would have to go meet them in person, talk to them, go to a hotel, buy them lunch and dinner, amuse them for like hours, and then they don't buy. You know what I'm talking about, agency owners, right? He's like, "Yeah, I've done that." Bobby?
Did you start from like nothing, or what was the start?
No, my dad gave me like 500 grand to start my business. Of course I started from nothing. Where are you from, Bobby?
I'm from West London.
West London. I'm from East London. We grew up in what's called council flats, government housing. Because my parents and me, Bangladeshi, we had 13 people living in the house. It was a 3-bedroom council flat. I'm sure that stuff was illegal, but we didn't really care. We just said, "Hey, everyone from Bangladesh, come over, come over." And so that's how I grew up. So I didn't have a lot. And I actually didn't know. My mom used to tell me, "Go pray 5 times a day," which I did. And my dad used to say, "Always compare yourself to the people that were poorer than you." So I grew up, I didn't know we was poor. And then I remember meeting people in America, they were millionaires. These people used to make 100 grand a month. I was 21 from East London. 100 grand a year was like I couldn't even imagine that. And then I was like, "Oh shit, I've been poor my whole life." And then I made a decision. I said, "Hey, if this is what other people have done." How many times have you met someone and you're like, "I'm way more smart than them. How do I make this much money?" Okay, maybe you don't compare yourself to others. How many of you look in the mirror and you're like, "My intelligence is up here. Why is my income You know what I mean? And the reason why that is because you have to understand the concept of making money comes from creating value and then leveraging that value. Does that make sense? So I was about 15, 16 years old, and I saw how to do this because I used to sell on eBay. And my friends would really go and work in part-time jobs, making £5, £10 an hour, whatever they did. And I could sit on eBay at home and make like £100, £200 a day. So I realized very quickly, if you have value, if you have something to solve, if you have something to help others, and then you can leverage it in a way, you can exponentially grow your income. Does that make sense, everyone? Okay. So this is just a handful of my offers. These are,
Can I ask you a question?
Daniel, fire away.
How
So
do
you have to understand what makes someone who has wealthy, what makes them buy stuff. Okay? Like in the UK, where I'm from, in London, you could go to a gym. How much is a gym membership? Like, I think, how much is a gym membership? 50 quid a month. The gym that I go to, I won't mention the name, but that gym costs me like £2,000 a month. Okay? And so there's a big difference. They could also say, wealthy, like when I'm there, I don't watch football. So apparently there's so many footballers that come to my gym. And I'm like, I don't care. I've never watched a football match in my entire life, okay? Is there anyone else like me, or does everyone watch football? Okay, 2. My best friends, they fly all over the world to go and watch these World Cup matches. The last one, I just Googled who won the World Cup. And I took a screenshot and I sent it to them, and they were having it. But anyway, so you have to have multiple different offers. They should appeal to different segments of the market. So for example, my book, Backpack Millionaire, foundschallenge.com, this appeals to people that usually make less than 10 grand a month. Okay, if I went to close a client, let's just say I was doing a deal with Ty Lopez and I was trying to sell it to him, I wouldn't even mention these things. Okay, I would go straight for a high ticket, because you have to understand what makes someone who's wealthy, what characteristics do they have when they buy. A lot of their business comes from warm traffic, referral. Does that make sense? So you have to tap into those networks. How do you tap into those networks? Make a list of the top masterminds in your country, in your state. So I know pretty much most of the top masterminds in the UK. In America, where most of my clients are from, I know the top 5 to 10 high-end masterminds. If I go and join those masterminds, will I have access to those people? Yes or no?
Yes.
So for example, let's just say one of my target market is people that are, say, millionaires, right? So like when I sell a $100,000 offer, I'm looking for people that they're looking to tap into digital assets. 50K to 100 grand is not a lot of money for them. And they'll just wire it. There's no back and forth asking for discount, none of that. They're just, because when they see their value, it's not a pricing game. So that's what you have to figure out as well. How do you create immense value and then get your offer in front of those people? So for example, my friend Russell Brunson, he has a mastermind. He charges 50 grand for the mastermind. But everyone that's in the mastermind is basically a $1 million earner. So if I paid 50 G's to that mastermind, do I now have access to 200 millionaires? Yes. So this is the mentality that I found, right? Like if I want to attract high net worth individuals, I'll just go and join the masterminds. I'll go and find the person that owns it, and then I'll get them on a podcast. I'll figure out ways to add value to them. What do you think I'm doing with Ty Lopez here? Do you understand what I'm saying? Like yesterday, I was speaking to my finance guy, and he said, hey, if you're speaking at Ty's event, make sure you speak to him and see how you can do business with him. Do you guys understand what I'm saying? So in every room that you're coming in, ask yourself, hey, how do I add so much value to this person? The person that's usually the most valuable is usually the most attractive. Have you guys noticed that? They have this magnetic something around them, call it charisma, aura, whatever, and people flock to do business with them. Yes or no?
Right.
This is why you guys traveled this morning, Friday morning, to come and see Ty. All right? So ask yourself, how can you make yourself much more valuable? One of the ways is by creating offers. So I'm going to share this with you. Let's go to the next slide. All right, so I watched this, and he basically talks about the next big thing is funnels agency. How many of you have watched that video?
I started doing this earlier this year, a funnel agency. You've heard me talk about social media marketing agencies. This is the next evolution, okay? It's called a WFA. So website funnel agency. Here's the thing. This website right here, I'm not sure it has a funnel. This right here is basically a funnel. It might not be their only funnel, but your homepage is a funnel. You could charge them between $5,000 and $150,000 to fix their funnel. What is a funnel? A funnel is a designated website page. I call it a vacuum cleaner. It's a vacuum for money. And those of you watching who are gonna start a website funnel agency, this is what you have to do to get people to pay you money. Me and Alex online using funnels have generated over 1 billion in sales for our businesses.
This campaign is making me around 100 grand a week, which is probably about 400 grand a month. Okay? I set it up once, very minimal effort. It keeps going over and over again. Does that make sense? So this month alone, this campaign has done $215,000 cash collected. Okay, by the end of the month, it should do about 400 to 450 grand. Okay, so, and the reason why I really want you guys to get this is because sometimes it just needs one idea. Does that make sense? And so it doesn't even have to be your own idea. How many of you always think, oh, I need to come up with something new and exciting? Okay, some of you? Yeah, for me, I just copy people. Just like, that's the secret to making millions of dollars, millions of pounds, is just copy something that's working. Does that make sense? If I go to the gym and I just come up with my own workout routine, and then I struggle to lose weight for 1 year, which is, by the way, what I was doing, okay, then I hire a trainer and now he can get me into shape in 3 to 4 months. So I always try to just, let's go back to the slides, the video's taking too long. I always try to just find something that I can just latch onto. If we go to Funnels Agency on the website, Adam, go back please. Thank you, sir. This one, yeah. So scroll right up and I'm going to show you this campaign. So we set this up. Again, it's just a one-pager and it goes into something called a call funnel. How many of you are familiar with a call funnel? So a call funnel is very simple. People inquire about your services. They come in and they book a call. That's the whole thing about a call funnel. The fastest way for anyone to get to an extra 10K, 50K, 100 grand a month is using this. It's called a call funnel, which basically means you have an offer. If you scroll right up, if you have an offer on this page, you'll see. So I watched this Ty Lopez video. He's telling the whole wide world, Funnels Agency is the next thing. Okay? First thing I do is go to GoDaddy and buy funnelsagency.com. Okay? Then I position myself as the #1 person in the Funnels Agency game. I go and get a bunch of clients. I help them with their funnels. Can we go up? And so this is basically what it looks like. In the beginning, we started with coaches and consultants. We realized that they don't want to spend more than 5 or 10 grand, maybe 20K on their...
WFA.
Is it playing? There you go. Maybe pause that because it's going to take too long. All right, so essentially, we go up, Adam, and a little bit of slow Wi-Fi here, but go up, more. So this is the key. So with the Funnels Agency, I'm focusing on one big problem, one big idea.
Do you want me to give you internet?
No worries. One idea. So this is the video. If you guys are interested, you can go to this website, funnelsagency.com, and basically see how the whole process works.
Have you got funnels.com separate? Or?
Yeah, funnels.com is separate. So that's a different domain that I own. That's a different brand. That one goes for coaches and consultants. That makes good amount of money as well. So I just look at every single one of them as digital assets. So here I'm explaining the basics of what a funnel is. So this is the video. And the reason why I'm educating them is because to sell someone something, you want to have this in your marketing, education-based marketing. Right? If you're trying to sell agency services, consulting services, coaching services, the more usually that you can educate someone, the higher the trust levels. Does that make sense? So go back to the presentation, please.
You gotta wrap up.
Yeah, I'm going to wrap up in 1 minute. Let's go there. And so scroll down. Go. There you go. Wait, go up. Okay, so this is the... Now go up to that slide. Okay, there you go. So essentially, let's just end it here. So here, we're looking for one big idea, one big offer, one customer avatar that we can help. And then usually 1 to 3 pricing models. So a client maybe 3K, 5K, 10K. I don't recommend it selling anything under 3 grand. And the reason is very simple. You have to spend money on Facebook. Does that make sense? And for you to be profitable, you have to have what we call high ticket offers. That's basically my my story and this valuable presentation. Hopefully you guys learned 1 or 2 things. Just ask yourself, how can I create my upsell path? How can I create a funnel that attracts my dream clients? If you need any help, check out funnelsagency.com. That being said, thanks everyone. Cheers, Adam. Cheers.